Hi guys, here we are, January of 2015, and we get questions once in a while. As we told you, we're going to kind of answer some questions. And I got a question from Steve Pinnick, or we got a question from Steve Pinnick. I think he's in Arizona, Pastor Steve. I think he's in Arizona somewhere. About doing scalloping on boards that have notched corners and the boards that are cut in the ribbon shape on the ribbon patterns that we make. So I decided, now I made videos months ago, maybe even years ago, but videos number 41 and 42. And if you go back and review those two videos, you'll see how I recommend setting up and cutting the shapes. And this is basically the same type of operation, except on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to notch these corners out. And what I did, I've got two ways to do that. I'll show you the easy way that anybody can do real quick. I made up this little pattern. This is MDF. I made up this little pattern and I cut the corner out of it. Now you can cut the corner with a jigsaw, you can do it with a sander, however you want. And then I put pattern screws in it, just like we have in all of our other patterns. So when I get ready to cut it, what I do is I put it on the board and I just even up the two edges. Put a little pressure on it and whack it with a hammer. Now I'm using that rubberized shelf liner underneath here just to keep it from sliding around. But when you do this, be sure that you're cutting into a sacrifice. This is just a sacrifice board. Don't be cutting where your router bit will get into that rubberized, because what it'll do, I'll guarantee you, it will grab that and it will wrap your router up and dump it into your lap. So just be sure that you don't cut through with the router bit into that rubberized.
We know that from personal experience.
Yeah, personal experience tells us that's not a good idea.
We still have all our digits, but it ain't because we haven't made mistakes.
And then you're going to say, "Oops, my bad." So just don't do that. Be sure that wherever you're cutting, where the router bit is going to go down through the board, that it goes into the sacrifice. And once I get ready to cut, before I did it, I set this like this. This is my pattern, this is my board. My cutter just barely comes through far enough just to go through the board, and that's all. All you need is a 64th, 15 thousandths. That's all you need in order to go into your sacrifice.
So what is that in the middle of the router right there, Dad? For those new people.
You're talking about the
yes,
pattern?
Yeah, I'm zoomed in on it right now.
This is a pattern guide. This fits into the base of a router. It doesn't fit into our base, but it fits into the standard router base. And this is a guide that will follow the pattern, and the router bit comes through that and cuts the material.
Okay, that's what you show on 41 and 42.
That's what I show on 41 and 42, and on this one, whatever the heck number this is.
So 100 and something.
All right, so this is, you're going to watch me do two of them. I'm going to do two corners. I'm going to do this one, then I'm going to turn the pattern around and do the other corner, just so you see you can do it either way. So bear with me, I'll turn this thing on. And once you get ready to do it, you set the edge of the router down, then you tip it so that it comes in, and then you just follow the contour. That's all you need to do. And I'm going to leave the router running while I turn this around. I'll put the router up here. Could turn the router off. It's not going to take very long. And the same thing, just be sure that you're not cutting into the rubber, just put that into the sacrifice. Bring it down. There's a switch up there somewhere. So that's literally all there is to putting a notch in the corners. Now, I'm gonna set up now and show you the other way that I do it, the way that we usually do it. I make these, they're really simple to make, and you can make it, there's nothing to it, you just need the little pattern screws. And this is a corner notch cutout pattern. Now, if you can't get one, or if you can't make one, or you don't want to make one, hey, I'll make one for you. I'll charge you $10 for it and $6.50 shipping and handling. But I can make it for you. It only takes me 15, 20 minutes to make it. So, and it's just 6 by 6 with the corner notched out. That's all there is to it.
So those will be for sale on the website then?
Yeah,
Coming up?
You know, I can't imagine somebody not being able to make one. But if you don't want to make one, I will make one for you and send it to you. I don't have them on the website yet, but if I get orders for them, just like anything else, if we get orders for them, then I'll make them and put them on the website so you can just go on there and order them, and I'll send you one.
So what's the dimensions of that, Dad?
It's just 6 inch by 6 inch.
6 by
That's all it
6.
is.
Okay.
They can be, literally could be any size. If you do nothing but big signs, they could be bigger. If you wanted a smaller one, buy the 6 by 6 and cut it down. But this one I made 6 by 6 because it'll fit almost any board. So
Okay.
what we're going to do now is I'm going to set up and show you I can do the same corner notch with a tool that's called a hole saw. And I'm going to set my drill press up. I have a drill press that I bought at Harbor Freight that I use. It's a dedicated drill press because it's only like $100 item. And I set this up permanent and it's dedicated so that there's only one of these in my shop and I can use it anytime and it will cut exactly the same radius that I've got here. In fact, I cut this one with the hole saw. So this will cut exactly the same radius. Now you can buy these bigger or smaller if you want bigger or smaller radiuses. But this one I believe is about 2 1/4, 2 1/2. Hold on a second, I'll get out a tape measure. Maybe. I got it. Yeah, this one is 2 inch.
Okay, so that one specifically is for wood.
Yeah,
right, because they
is
make them
wood.
for
You can get it for metal and you can get it for
stone.
Yeah,
which we
but
have those
this
too.
one is just a hole saw made for wood.
Gotcha.
And it is so slick for cutting corners, and I'll show you when I get set up on the drill press. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to shut this down and set up on the drill press. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. This is a pattern that I made that I'm not going to make for anybody else, but I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm not going to make these for sale. I'll show you how I did it. I took an 8 by 14 board, okay? And what I did is I took this hole saw and I went to a spot that I thought was about right, and I just took the hole saw and I went down and just barely kissed the top of the board so that I know where it was going to cut, okay? Then I took a square and right in dead center of the hole I drew a line right from the edge out to the other edge, and from this edge to the other edge, and I did that right to the center of the hole so you can see how this is done. Then I just took a piece of scrap, this is MDF, 1 inch by 1/2 inch, and I put on that line and I stayed just away from the outside edge of where the hole saw will come down and kiss the material. So this is a very, very simple thing to make. There's nothing to it. I'm not going to make them for anybody. The only thing I would caution you is when you put it together, be sure that it's square. So just get one of any kind of a square. Once you get your long one down and you got your short ones, you just want to be sure that these are on there square. They're not on there cockeyed. Otherwise your boards wouldn't fit. So that's just that one little disclaimer. So I'm going to set that outside, and I'm going to get up, poor old tired bones, and I'm going to pull this drill press in. Are you on the drill press, son?
I'm on it.
All right. I'm going to move my chair out of the way. I'm going to bring this stand over. Now this stand, let me move the drill press. You can see this little stand over here. All this is just a material stand. And I'll show you what we do with it in a minute. And what I do is I've set this up so that it's just the right size for this drill press. And what I've done is I just find the two edges, the back edge and the side edge. And I've got these, you've probably seen these. These are just kind of like welder's vice grips. And I just use these to hold this board in place. And the reason I'm back here is just to be sure that my handles will clear. The handles on the drill press. And you can, it doesn't take very much to do this. It's really fairly simple. I don't know if you guys know it, but a chuck is made with 3 different holes. You don't tighten up with just one hole. You snug each one up individually. I don't know if you know that, but I was a machinist for 30 years. And so, having set that up, I've got this with a little stop on the drill press so that this will come down just so far, no further. Now, if you've got long boards, longer than the ones that I'm going to show, you'll have more room out. But if you have long boards, they'll rest on this material roll that we have back here, material holder. So if you watch now, you'll see just how, I'm going to show you 2 things that you need to know. Here's the first one. You just bring this down. Now you can see how it's cut. And you have the stop set so that when the hole saw gets down just close to the bottom, just close to the board, then you stop. Well, I didn't stop quite soon enough, and I'll show you now where you have a problem. When that corner cut out, what happens is that's wedged up in the hole saw. I didn't want to do that, but I should have had a screwdriver here. So you'll necessarily need to get up in there and drop that out. You see that, son?
I do, yeah.
Okay, now I'll show you on the other corner how you can prevent doing that, shutting this off.
I thought you were going to show us on this corner.
Well, I was going to show you on this corner, but now I'm going to show you on the other corner.
That's the way you planned it, right?
A corner's a corner. Come on, give me a break. So now on this one, I'll try not to go quite that deep.
Okay.
But basically, it's bring it down to about there now. You see, that one didn't cut out.
Yeah.
Bingo. It'll break out.
Uh-oh. You missed that. I was zoomed in.
Oh.
Sorry about that, guys. He just broke that off.
Yeah, I just broke this off. This was hanging on there just by a 64th, by 10,000th maybe.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, then I just snap that off. And since you're going to do a chamfer on here anyway, having this little bit of a burr on there doesn't hurt anything.
Sorry, I missed that on film, guys. I was relishing in the moment. I got to throw my dad under the bus
Well, would you
again.
like me to do it on another board? I have a...
No, that's okay. That's all right. No, I think
okay.
they saw what they needed to see there.
Okay, so that's how I do it with the drill press, and I highly recommend you do it that way because the drill press costs like $125, and you can set this. You can make one of these in an hour or less. Then you can sit up and do these all day long, and you don't. Everything will be exactly the way you want it to be. So, having said that, now the second part of Pastor Steve's question was how do we do the scalloping? Well, being that I'm an old scalloper, I'm going to turn it over to a young scalloper. I'm going to let Eric show you how to do the scalloping on both on the notch boards and on the ribbon shaped boards. So we'll shut this down and be back in a minute and set up and show you how the scalloping is done.
Good job, Dad. All right, we are back. This time Dad's behind the camera and I'm in front. So Dad, you saw Dad did the notches on this board. And this material, by the way, this is that cedar fencing that we use for a lot of our small signs. Now this particular board, actually I cut a ribbon-shaped board and this board out of the same cedar picket, 6-foot picket. And I know I've talked to many of you that sometimes this stuff runs thinner than 3/4 of an inch. Almost always it does. This particular board is right at about 1/2 inch. But even in all the years I was up in Oatman, even when I had thinner boards like this that were only 1/2 inch thick, the customers didn't mind at all, because you're making them a nice product, and the fact that it's maybe an 1/8 inch or 1/4 of an inch thinner than 3/4 of an inch didn't seem to matter to them at all. So
usually it's only about 1/8 of an inch thinner though, right?
yeah, normally, yeah, it's probably only about 1/8 of an inch thinner than it would normally come as the cedar fencing. But I just don't have a problem with it. If it gets down, and you can see, this is the way it comes on both sides. And then what I do is I surface one side of it as I'm making a sign. But you can see I didn't surface it all. The rest of that will come out when I'm sanding after the sign is completely
You
done.
do that surfacing with a sander or
Yeah,
the joiner?
I did this with a sander, but you can do it with a jointer as well. I do it with a sander because sometimes I'll want to take a little bit more off in one spot than another spot, depending on the way the board is. Sometimes they've got a little bit of a cup to them or a warp. But anyway, so I'm dealing with some thin material here. It's about a 1/2 inch net, somewhere around there. But that doesn't mean that it won't make a great looking sign. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scallop this thing, and I'll do that one too after I'm done with this. But like Dad said, Pastor Steve kind of wanted to see, you know, how you go about scalloping this board. And I've done other videos on scalloping, but I've never really done one on a shaped board. No difference here. Now the difference that I will make here is that I'm going to do this in 2 passes. I'm going to do the top and the right side, or for you, I guess would be the left side of this. And then I'll spin it and do the other side. And that's because this bearing is going to drop down below the surface of the board. Let's see, that should hopefully give you an angle on it, right, Dad? Where are you at? There you go. So you can see that bearing is deeper than that. And you can do that a couple different ways. You can use those bench cookies, but I just made myself a board with some of this padding on it, and I'll turn it around. So you'll see right here. We'll just zip this out real quick. I've already set my depth. I've got it tight. We'll just scallop this thing. I didn't go down the edge. Sorry about that, Jack. Did I lose you?
Well, no, that's because you're a young scalloper. I would have gone down the edge.
I deserve that. So then I'll chamfer, obviously would chamfer the back
Now
side
hold that
too.
up right where it is. Let me zoom in on it, son.
So there's no difference on doing that than there is really doing a rectangle board. It's just a little bit different. Just a little, you know, gotta kind of
Nice job.
see where the scallops are and kind of follow. And anyway, you can see my other videos where I did scalloping, but it gives kind of a different effect, a little bit different look. So now I'll just do the same thing. That was kind of the more difficult of the two. I'll do the same thing with the notched cornered one. So if you were to measure all these, they wouldn't be exact. I'm just eyeballing it as I go along, but it's the effect that you're really looking for. So they don't have to be exactly the same distance in between scallops. Some of these are a little bit closer than others, but it really makes no difference as long as you're somewhere in the vicinity. Now Dad does these different, and you guys probably will have seen Dad do scalloping way back in some of the early ones, early videos, and he stands up above the board and does it from up above without looking. And you know, you may be just fine with that. I always felt a little more comfortable actually seeing what that router bit is doing, but makes no difference. If you're comfortable standing and doing it, that's fine. That's the old school version. I'm the new school, I guess.
So you're the young scalper.
I'm the young scalper, yes. So anyway, that's really all there is to it, but it gives kind of a cool effect. I've done a lot of stall signs with notching the corners and scalloping like this. Really popular with the Western people and the horse people making stall signs. Haven't done a whole lot of scalloping on the ribbon boards, but it looks kind of cool. It's kind of a different effect. So I guess that's that's about it. I think we're about done with this one, right, Dad? That's pretty much touched on everything we wanted to do.
Tell them to prescribe.
Yeah, go on and check out our YouTube channel. If you're not there already and don't know, subscribe so you can get updates. We're making videos every week now. We'll have another one coming up next week. Not sure. We've got some ideas on what we're going to do. We've got actually a list. So you guys send us questions of what you want to see. Some things that maybe you want to address, and we'll drop your name on the video.
Point out that Old Dave 100 is our channel.
Old Dave 100 is our channel.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I knew I heard it somewhere. And then go check out our websites. We got the great info for you sites. Everything will be in the description down below. makeawwoodsign.com. We got a blog on there, and we're posting a lot of different things. So
good job, my boy.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. But send us those questions because we want to do what you guys want to see.